Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Stephanie. This is the week 5 of 2020 book wrap up. January 26th to February 1st. Weekly wrap up for you guys. Yeah, that intro was so just... If you guys have been following me on all my other social media platforms, which are down in the description box, so you can do that, you know this week has been super busy. I released the 2019 Bookish Academy Awards yesterday, Saturday night, and thank you guys for showing up and, you know, discussing the books as I was revealing the 13 winners. Congratulations to them. You may actually be really surprised with how random the winners were, and it was lots of fun. It's such a production to film, pick, create, really pull that together, but very satisfying when I can introduce new books to you guys that you guys have never heard of or never seen, never thought of, and to be able to do that is absolutely amazing. So I love doing that. I don't want to sound like the production and everything like that is too daunting, because it's not. It's something that I really enjoy doing for you guys. I also had to go into the doctor again, and now I have to get a specialized referral for this lump that's on my neck. And we'll have to go from there, see what happens after that. Let's see, what else has happened? I've actually got contacted by a couple of people, a couple possible, hopefully, employers. So my reading may go down a little bit depending on if I get a job or not that actually pays the bills. And yeah, but I still managed to get 8 books read this week. Last week also filmed a whole bunch of stuff for you guys that is going to be coming up, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, so it's crazy. We're already in the next month. It is Black History Month. That doesn't change anything here on this channel. I read diversely already, quite a bit, and you guys will notice that in my January numbers. But I was also thinking that I read a lot of arcs. I have been reading a lot of arcs starting this year, and I might have to figure out a way to sort of introduce that into a video, because I don't want you guys to forget about the books that I get in advance that you guys need to go out and read. So let me know down in the comments. Let's discuss that. If you have any suggestions on how I can make sure that I keep those books that I arc read, that I advance read, in the fronts of your minds, especially the ones that I absolutely adored, because there are going to be some that I adore that I think you guys should go check out when they release and things like that. But let's get into last week's reads. So I started the week off by finishing All I Ask by Corinne Michaels. This is a contemporary. I give it 4.5 stars. I give it 2 Steam fans. I read this as an arc. It doesn't release until March. Like I said, one of those books that you just need to read, but I get to read it first, and then you guys have to go out and wait after I've talked about it. But this book follows Teagan and Derek. Teagan and Derek were best friends when they were younger, all the way up until they were in college and everything like that. And then they found that they had to sort of stand by each other through some hard times and through finding different love matches and everything like that. But then they fall out of contact, and Derek has to come back to the small town in which Teagan is now raising her daughter, and Derek has a daughter now as well. There's so much just amazingness within this story. You have a single father, you have a single mother, you have a childhood relationship that was broken because of craziness, I guess you could say, because you were trying to, you know, be that best person that they were trying to be. And I really enjoyed this. I loved that the characters were more mature. There was some teenage angst and mean girls and, you know, situations that were going on. I mean, the teenagers make me realize that I'm gonna have a teenager soon, and these are the things that might be happening to my teenager, and I just really enjoyed it. I really felt the emotions of both Teagan and Derek, as well as some of the secondary characters, and I'm really excited that Forever Publishing allowed me to advance read this, and I thought this was such a very, very special book, and I hope you guys will remember to go and get this book in March when it releases. The next book that I finished was A Year of Chasing Love by Rosie Chambers. I place this in women's fiction. I give this book 2 stars. I give it 1 Steam fan. I read it as an ARC through NetGalley, and this book follows Olivia, who is a workaholic lawyer in Europe, and she gets served divorce paperwork, and then that sort of pushes her into this sort of eat, pray, love situation where she is now facing a possible divorce, and she gets told by her bosses, as she's a partner, or a junior partner, I think it is, or something like that, but she gets told by her big partners in the law firm that, hey, you need to go ahead and take some time off. It's in the bylaws that our partners can take, you know, up to a year off to find themselves and take a sabbatical and everything like that. So they sort of push her into doing this, and the book has a great premise. I mean, all that I just explained really sounds interesting and rewarding. However, the book just came off as a sort of cheap tourist guide that just didn't work for me. The places that she ends up going are very populated and very popular tourist locations, and all of the things she ended up doing within the book were major popular tourist attractions. So it was like I was getting a tour guide of places that are on pretty much everyone's list, and it was like, but I wanted something different and original and new. Yeah. The next book that I finished was Marriage on Madison Avenue. This is the 3rd book in the Central Park pack, and it was so bittersweet to let this series go. By Layne. I place this in contemporary. I give it 5 stars. I give it 2 Steam fans. I read this as an ARC. It has recently released, so you guys can go out and read this one. I loved this because this book follows Audrey and Clark. Audrey is one of the mistresses from that douchebag that was introduced in the other 2 books. He died, and the ladies ended up hooking up as friends, and this is Audrey and Clark. They have been sort of each other's beards, and they grew up together. They're both very much New Yorkers. Well, Audrey is a influencer, and when Clark gets into situations where he's that bad boy that, you know, doesn't want to deal with a woman, he'll be like, oh, I'm gonna marry Audrey. And when Audrey came out, or was revealed as being the mistress of this well-known New York guy that died, she kind of got trolled, and in turn, this book is about Audrey getting trolled and Clark needing a beard to sort of fight off his parents and their things that are going on with them. And I loved the banter between them. The sexual chemistry was off the charts, but there was like very little sexy time in it. I really appreciated that. I was super surprised by that. The sex scene that does end up appearing in the book was a closed door sex scene where you know they're doing it, but you don't actually see it or read about it, and I was okay with that. I was so okay with that. The rest of the story had me intrigued, and you could feel their sexual tension and you could feel their attraction, but at the same time I didn't need to necessarily have it in graphic detail. So loved it, and it was just super bittersweet to have all the ladies find their happily ever afters throughout the series, and this book was absolutely amazing. The next book that I finished was From LA with Love by Cassie Rocca. I placed this in New Adult. I give it 2.5 stars. I give it 1.5 Steam Fan. I read this as an ARC. And yeah, so this book follows Heaven, who is a preacher's daughter. She's very buttoned up, and she lives in a small town where everyone knows that she's a preacher's daughter. Her sister is sort of that bad girl, so when they go out to a bar and kind of want to blow off some steam because Heaven and her boyfriend just broke up, he goes to Tijuana for a guy's weekend or something or another, so she's now free. In walks David, who got left at the altar, and they end up hooking up, having a one-night stand, and then 4 years pass. Yeah, so you could tell that, as I was reading this, I could tell that the author was either European or Australian, with some of the terms that were used, and yeah, that was a little off-putting. Just a little off-putting, but in turn, it wasn't boring enough that I wanted to DNF this book. I kind of wanted to continue on, and I did continue on with the story, and so I didn't rate it like super low. It got the 0.5 instead of just a regular 2-star read or rating from me. Because of the ending. The ending was sweet and swoon-worthy, and it bumped it up just that little bit, so that I wasn't saying that it was a dumpster fire. Yeah. The next book that I finished was Double Booked by Tessa Bailey. This is an erotic novella. I give it 4 stars. I give it 5 Steam Fans. I listened to it on the podcast of Read Me Romance. Read Me Romance. And this story is just a fun, sexy, like super sexy, story novella about you and a biker and a cop. That's it. They have a interaction. You end up double booking a date. So you have a date with the biker, you have a date with the cop, and in turn, you walk into that restaurant and they're both sitting there, so they both take you home and you have some sexy time. Simple as that. Very just there. Both guys are very possessive, and they're not necessarily down for the menage, but at the same time, they don't want to let you go. And I was here for this story. It was just the perfect little num-num of erotic goodness that I was just like, yes, okay, I'm down. This works for me. The next book that I finished was The Lying Season by K.A. Linde. I placed this in New Adult. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 4 Steam Fans. I read this as an ARC. It comes out this week. I believe it's Tuesday or Thursday. So make sure you guys go check this out. This is a second chance love story, workplace love story, romance sort of feel to it. Larkin is I don't want to say PR because she's not just PR. She works on the campaign of the mayor of New York, and it has a little bit of political intrigue. If you have read any of K.A. Linde's other political romances, then you will have a sort of understanding. She puts politics into it. However, it's not about the politics. It's based off of K.A. Linde's experience working here in DC and in politics and everything like that. So she has that flair that goes along with it. But Larkin is a New York, I don't want to say socialite because she's not a socialite. Her mother is a fashion designer and cosmetics person. Her father runs a huge conglomerate, and they're wealthy. They are Upper East Side crusted people, and you get to see other characters from K.A. Linde's other series within this story, and I just really enjoyed getting to see all those other people. And in walks Sam. Her and Sam had a relationship when she worked on a campaign in Wisconsin 5 years ago, and Sam is now in New York working on this campaign with her as the legal counsel, and they sort of have to rehash what went wrong within their relationship, as well as where they can go from there. There's lots of angst, so much angst within this story, because there are other contributing factors within their relationship. I was here for it. K.A. Linde gave me angst, which I can pretty much always, I love from her. I love the way she like twists and turns the angst into a story, and I'm here for it. I'm here for the rest of this series of standalone books that should be coming out this year or next year. This year, next year, whenever they decide to come out. I can't wait for them, because the stories and secondary characters that we have seen and get to love on are absolutely amazing. I just really, really enjoy this book and her work. The next book that I finished was I Need You Tonight, Slice number 2 by Teagan Hunter. I placed this in New Adult. I give this book 4.25 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I read it as an ebook, and this is a flat out enemies to lovers story. You have Drew, who is a single mom. She works in the pizzeria in which we were introduced to in book number 1. Of Slice in this first series, and we get to hear the story of Winston, who is the twin brother to Drew's best friend. So we got that trope in there as well. They have been working together for, gosh, a long time. They've known each other for a long time. They're family friends, but at the same time, Drew is going through the hardship of being independent and being that single mom, taking care of her son, and Winston is recovering from a injury, and there is content warning for drug use, injury related sort of guilt and shame for not doing what they needed to do for recovering from that injury. There is some grief that goes along with this story as well. So I really enjoyed it. I loved all of the hate to love sort of aspect that went on between Drew and Winston. They are super sassy characters as they're on their own, and then bring them together, they just really rocked my world. I thought it was a great book, and would love for you guys to continue on with this series. The next book that I finished, and the last book that I finished last week, was Unbroken, which is Loveless .5, which is like the prequel, I guess you could say, to the Loveless series by Jay Crownover. I place this in New Adult. This is sort of a novella. I think it's actually a little longer than a novella, but it's very short, super quick read. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read it as an ebook, and this is actually the introduction to the Loveless series. However, I didn't read this book before I read the other 2 books, the 2 full novels in this book. This book follows Crew, who is the brother that is the cowboy. He is rough in exterior, and Della is a cosmetics fashion sort of, you know, mogul. She's trying to prove herself to her father that she could take over the company, and in turn, Della's father signs Crew to be the face of their new men's product, and the 2 of them end up coming together. Crew has some addictions that he needs to take care of, and in taking on the contract with Della's company, he's able to do that, but they also find that they have an attraction to each other. She is very high-end, he is very rough and rugged, and I loved the 2 of them together. I loved getting to know them as well, and I appreciated this little look into their love story. It was very sweet and swoony, and yes, I kind of want more Crew than I already got. Can I get some more, Jay? Please. I'd love some more. On to what I am currently reading. I am currently reading Tumble, which is Dogwood #1 by Adriana Locke. This is a new adult story. This is a reread for me. I initially gave it 4 stars, and I am listening to it as an audiobook reread so that I can listen to the next book in the series as well as read the arc for the 3rd book that is coming out in this series. So you guys will hear about that later. Next week, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I am also reading the Bookshop on the Seine by Raisin. I have been trying to read this one for a long time. I have it as an arc. It has been released. I think it released last year, but I'm finally getting around to reading it, so you guys will be hearing about that one as well. I just thought this was like a really cozy sort of cover and cozy story about a bookshop, so hopefully I enjoy this one. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Okay, so that is everything that I read last week, what I'm currently reading. Let me know down in the comment section if there is anything you guys want me to discuss more. Have you read any of the books that I have just talked about? Even though quite a few of them were arcs, some of them are out and available for you to read, so go check them out. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. There's affiliate links, socials, all of that down there in the description box. I chock it full of information, so go check that out. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.